I'm back in my garage with my bikes because last week I was riding around Scotland. I saw the weather was holding, and I sort of booked some travel to get up there in 2 days. And by Monday evening, I was on the very north coast of Scotland, and it was absolutely phenomenal. The next day, I rode from a tiny little place called Tongue to somewhere called Hope, and I made a little video. You can look at it. I've just put a link here. But it's like 15 minutes of just me riding with a GoPro stuck to my helmet. And the thing that I was sort of just chewing over, and it's kind of twofold. The first was pilgrimage. And I'll sort of look into that in a minute. And then the other was how church and my experience of it attempted to make the intangible tangible. And that over familiarity and that sort of control of what is just so mysterious and other in the fact of our relationship with God, our faith that comes from Him. When we try and make it tangible, that's what just becomes so tiring. And I was thinking more and more about it, and I mean, there's nothing more visceral than sitting on a motorbike and going quickly or going slowly. It doesn't really matter. Yeah, it's pretty visceral, and it's incredibly tangible. You feel incredibly part of where you are. The road is moving beneath you. Just what can it be from there? It's like less than a foot from my foot peg. The smells of all the air and the sounds that you hear above your own motorbike, it's incredibly tangible or visceral. And for me, that's a really interesting process where I can reset and just focus on one thing, like running, or you might have, you're going to have your own thing, walking the dogs in the woods, as you've seen in other videos that I've done. Those things are incredible privileges of being human, having health in order to do that, and making the most of a day. And I don't know, they kind of, the way that we've shaped spirituality to be within the church just seems pretty off. With the Bible Society report that came out about there being a quiet revival. I don't know how many people watching this sort of thought, oh no, it's that word again. But among young people, I mean, it's really exciting. They're going to Roman Catholic churches. There's a sense that maybe that kind of church is able to fulfill that deep desire within us to attempt to make the intangible tangible. But I don't think the church that I don't know, I still try and find is useful to that. A friend of mine, Dave, he sort of put a band, a musical collective together called Held by Trees, and I'll put a link there for that as well. And he's attempting to figure out what this stuff is as well. And his new album called Hinterland is an interesting kind of attempt to figure out, well, what's going on at the moment. I think as I was riding through Scotland, and I mean, there was no other cars, there was no one around. It was phenomenal. I was incredibly privileged. I was trying to tie down and trying to understand myself. What is it that I'm searching for at the moment? What is it that I've always been searching for? And why is it that I've got a chip on my shoulder about church? I mean, the chip's quite obvious if you followed these videos. But what is it that keeps me from them now? What is it that keeps you from them now? So that then took me to this idea of pilgrimage. And, I feel like you kind of need to go somewhere deliberate for there to be an idea of pilgrimage. But for me, understanding how I use journeying and travel is a beginning of that process of understanding how I can use that very visceral experience of whether it's my feet treading the ground or whether it's a wheel. There seems to be in motion something that's transformative. And I don't feel necessarily transformed from last week, but I feel fulfilled. I wonder, like, I don't know, should I have aimed to go to Iona? That's up that way, in the Outer Hebrides. Should I have been focusing more on getting to a traditional church place or Celtic Christianity place? But I was kind of surrounded by these mountains and lochs and sea and hills and sheep and other people just making a journey for the sheer hell of it. And there seems to be something that we can just take from that. So this video isn't massively focused, but I just wanted to say, hey, I went for a ride. It was pretty handy. And what do you plan to do this year? I want to try and make every journey, in some respects, kind of fit that mark. You know, just when I get on the train to go to London, whether it's for a meeting or for fun or whether it's a job, how do I treat that train journey or drive in? When I go down to the coast for fun with a friend or on my own on a bike, how do I treat that? And at the moment, maybe my faith is pretty independent, and I want it to be interdependent or joined with a community. But at the moment, I can't really find who and where that will be. And I don't know if that's a cultural thing amongst lots of us, or if it's kind of what's going on. So that was my thought during Holy Week. I haven't done anything for Lent. I was thinking of stopping drinking alcohol, but I've had the odd beer here and there, glass of wine. I was in France for a party on Saturday, so it wouldn't have been great. But yeah, as Holy Week sort of approaches Easter, how are you attempting to completely contradict myself from the beginning? How are you attempting to make the intangible tangible? How are you attempting to make your faith a visceral experience? Motorbikes do it for me. What does it for you?